It's time, Fort Wayne. Your sports, your station. It's the Sports Rush with Brett Rump. Covering all the topics that hit a nerve here in the Summit City.
Clark goes 11 yards, touchdown.
Only on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Now here's your host, Brett Rump.
The greatest, most interesting, most important person of all time.
You are incredible. Over on one.
Yeah, well, you're half right.
What is this, amateur hour?
This is going to be huge.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
That boy ain't right.
The simplest way to put it, I have problems.
Welcome to the alleged show.
Y'all having a good time out there.
Four down, one to go with the work week. It is a Thursday edition of the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix, 4 to 6. I am Brett Rump. He is Adam Lundy. And you are connected on the Parkview Sports Medicine text line. That's all you got to do is just text us whatever comments you've got, questions, suggestions, 260-447-8500, 260-447-8500, the Parkview Sports Medicine text line. Big hour on the way, including Eric Dutkiewicz, who will give us this week's Power 5 for boys and girls high school basketball. A reminder that coming up tomorrow night will be at New Haven for the Leo Lions, New Haven Bulldogs. Boys basketball in the NE8. 7:30 tip. Will be on the air approximately 7:25. And after the game, will be right across the street at the New Haven Pizza Hut up until 10:30. And that is for the Parkview Sports Medicine post-game show with scores, highlights, coaches' interviews, and more, all right here as part of your Friday night of high school basketball coverage from 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Going to be a lot of fun hanging out in my stomping grounds tomorrow night over in New Haven.
Well, and looks like maybe the weather will cooperate and we'll actually have a post-game show this time around.
Fingers crossed.
Last week had to scrap it because the weather was so nasty on Friday. Just trying to get across town was an adventure.
Yeah, I know. You were still able to broadcast the game last Friday, but getting home after that was quite an adventure for you.
I was the only, guy that really sucked it up and got out there and got to where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. Thank goodness you were able to leave here a little earlier, get out there before more of the snow came down.
Well, going home, I thought, by now they've probably got 69 clear as can be.
Oh, yeah, all the roads should be, they should have had.
Yeah, so I jumped right on 69 and thought, what the heck was I thinking? It was a mess. And then because of the snowpack and then the snow on top, you couldn't see the lane lines. And that's the scariest thing because the trucks just want to blow you right off the road, it seems. So I'm trying to just white knuckle at Highway 14 so I can get off 69 and get to some roads I know, like going through town. And but then it was tough because every stoplight, you'd miss it. Then you'd stop, and when the light would turn green, you couldn't get going.
Right.
You'd just spin a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then you'd get to about the next stoplight, and you wouldn't make it because all of them are timed for people that go the regular speed limit, not for people that are going 20-25% slower. And so it was almost an hour adventure to get from Homestead to the northeast side of town where I am residing.
Yeah.
So it was a long Friday night, even though I didn't get pizza. So I'm like, you're telling me I'm out still until like 10:30 at night, and I have no pizza to eat when I get home?
Nope, just cold and covered in snow and slush.
But tomorrow we will have your post game. So all of the scores. What do we got? Is this tomorrow?
That's tomorrow for you.
All right. So SAC girls action. Which is doubleheader, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah, most part.
We've got Carroll at Lures, but that's only girls basketball.
Yes.
And then you've got doubleheaders with Concordia at Southside, Bishop Dwenger at Wayne, Northrop at Northside, and Homestead is at Snyder. NE8 boys action. Belmont's at Norwell. Columbia City visits Huntington North. East Noble's at DeKalb. And the game will be with Leo at New Haven. And then in the ACAC, you've got, we're down to the semifinals of the ACAC tournament.
Yep.
Heritage Southern Wells on the girls' side, with the other semifinal being Jay County Bluffton And then on the boys' side, you've got Heritage Adams Central and Jay County Woodland.
Yep.
And then, I guess there's a couple of games in the NECC. Are those also tournament games?
I'm not exactly sure.
Central Noble's at Eastside, and this is girls' side. Central Noble at Eastside, Westview at Fairfield. And then you've got boys with Central Noble Garrett, Westview, Cherubusco. It looks like almost like it's semifinals. I don't know if it's the NECC tournament. But anyway, we will be once again at New Haven coming up tomorrow night. So Tuesday night, Indiana trying to follow up that embarrassment at Iowa, and then they got embarrassed even more at home against Illinois. We knew there would be a reaction to that loss, but we waited to see would it be positive or negative. Would they come back with a determined effort at home against Illinois, or would they come back with their confidence shattered and just not have their heart and mind back in it? And what we saw was a team that was unprepared, that was emotionally disconnected, and the fans do not put up with it. The fans know what it looks like to play with heart, to play with effort, and they weren't seeing it out of their basketball team. And there was one person that the fans were blaming for that type of performance, and that was Mike Woodson. And they're 100% right. I mean, that's the job of the coach. To put the first game away, to come back, use it as motivation if you need to, but you cannot take the court at home at a hallowed hall like Simon Scott Assembly Hall with such a passionate fan base and put out that type of performance in front of the home fans. Cannot do it.
Yeah, giving up a 60-point first half has never happened at Assembly Hall.
The most that's been allowed in Assembly Hall's history. 60 points in the first half. They were already out of it by halftime. Even Mike Woodson admitted as much in his post-game comments, which he did make in the press conference, but he also blew off Don Fisher and wouldn't do the radio interview because he didn't have 2 minutes to give to Fish.
Oh, come on. It's Don Fisher. How do you blow off Don?
And what's the number one thing? Accountability. Players have to be accountable for their actions. Nobody in the program has accountability because Mike Woodson isn't even accountable to himself. He's supposed to, contractually, do a post-game interview with Don Fisher on the IU Radio Network. It is a sponsored feature that is part of the post-game show, and he refused to do it. Now, how do you not have 2 minutes? You have 2 minutes if you win by 30, I guarantee it. It's a lazy way to go about your job. And I think it just kind of symbolizes the way Mike Woodson's approached the job. I don't think he realized when he took this job how much work is involved in being a college coach. I see it firsthand. It is a tough balancing act to have family matters that you try to get to, but also make the commitment to not shortchange your second family, which is your work family and your basketball team you're in charge of. And I think when push comes to shove, Mike Woodson cares about himself more than he cares about the basketball team, and I think the players care about themselves more than they care about Indiana University or any fan base. It's time to get new leadership. You talk about culture. I think we saw Tuesday, and it's not just how they played on the court. It's a lot of the other stuff, the push and shove late in the game, and then Mike Woodson saying he'd have to look at it, but there's not much he can do. There's a lot you can do. If that's not the way you want to run a program, and that's not the way you want your team to represent your university or a program that you're in charge of, you can bench players. You can send a message. You don't have to wait and see if the Big Ten is going to send a message. You can send your own. That's not the way we're going to do things. We're not going to get caught up in a fracas. We're going to play a more disciplined structure of basketball, and we're not going to fall into the trap of being down big and getting caught in that type of an emotional display. And I think it's pretty much an emotional display. You're frustrated, you're embarrassed, and you take it out on your opponent. And now it's Mike Woodson, instead of holding a player accountable for that behavior, he's going to pass the buck to the Big Ten and do whatever they tell. But then he responds, I'm hopeful he'll be available for our next game at Ohio State.
Yeah, things are just the wheels are falling off the wagon under this Mike Woodson IU team. I mean, you've got Umar Ballo getting in a fight after being down by a lot last night. You lose horribly.
Well, and I don't know if you call it, I want to correct you there, and I don't want to call it a fight.
Okay, we'll call it a scuffle.
A little bit of a
skirmish.
A push.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't really see anything. Let me put it this way. If I didn't actually go back and watch the video of it, Twitter was making it sound like it was just throwing haymakers. It was one little push, and the guy fell down. I don't know if it was enhanced with a little Academy Award performance, but the whole situation, which started actually I think on a rebound, but the whole thing has to be looked at and say, okay, if you were part of this, you may not be representing the program the way we want that uniform to be worn. And our fan base deserves better than your behavior. I think right now you're seeing examples that it is a team that has a very strong passion for themselves and their future, but they are not passionate about being the best collective unit they can be for Indiana University this season. They just want to get the best opportunity to make a buck, move on to the next year, figure out what next year will bring, whether it's an NBA contract, whether that's going somewhere else to play, or if it's a bigger deal to stay at Indiana. And that's going to be if Indiana even wants them to stick around. Because this team, I mean, just dumb decisions on the court. Trey Galloway, what is he doing? I mean, the guy is not a shot maker, and yet he's determined to continue to take shots. In some ways, it reminded me of Angel Reese. It's like, at some point the opponents want to bait you into a shot because if there's anything they want Indiana to do, it is let Trey Galloway shoot it. He's not shooting well, and he's taking the bait.
Oh, he took the bait. He was 3 of 11 from the field against the Fighting Illini. So
I think he was 0 for 4, 0 for 5 from 3, and he just kept firing.
Yeah, and he eventually he hit 2, so he finished 2 of 7 from 3-point range.
And that's okay if you're like a 43% three-point shooter, because you figure, okay, that's an anomaly, and eventually he's going to get them to go in. Mm-hmm. He's not.
No. Mackenzie Mbako was also very bad. 1 of 10 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3.
He's had a stretch of, 3 games where he's not been good.
Not good at all.
He's been their best player. And that's why, are there chemistry issues with this team? It's a collection, I don't want to say of misfits because they were all a collection of highly sought after guys, but anytime you go out and take a collection of players and try to mold them into a team, and you're not a coach that's committed or prepared for what it takes to do that, you end up with this type of mess on your hands. And it is a mess. I mean, right now, Indiana, I don't know that they've played to their potential in almost any game this year. They've beaten some mid-majors. Their record overall isn't horrible, but look at what they've done against top competition. I think they're 1-5 against quad 1 teams.
Yep.
1-5.
1-5.
This is Indiana University, considered an NCAA blue blood, and yet 5 out of 6 quad 1 teams are beating them up.
Yeah, it's bad, and like I said, there's just clear signs that tensions are getting higher, emotions are running hot. We saw Ballo not last night, but against Illinois in the loss, lose his temper. We saw Mike Woodson, refuse to join Don Fisher, and we see IU players lashing out on Twitter as well. So tensions are rising.
And this year starts with TikTok videos of dancing at Assembly Hall, and then you've got the questions about, was Trey Galloway at a casino the night before a game? Was Omar Ballo at a bar before a game? I mean, nothing right now is a great storyline coming out of Bloomington when it surrounds Indiana basketball, and you've got to point the finger and hold accountable the person who's in charge of this group of young men. That's Mike Woodson. And then you look at what they did on the court. First of all, there was no effort. I mean, they were being dominated on the glass just because they were not working as hard as Illinois was working. Then you have to wonder who was responsible for the scout of Illinois. Because if you watch plays in that game, there are times they're going under screens. There's times they're trying to fight over the top. And if they're fighting over the top and getting caught behind their man, if he turns the corner off the screen, is the guy guarding the screener hedging out, or is he just letting the guy drive to the basket? I mean, there looked to be no scout, and if there was one, the players didn't really get the message. They didn't know what they were doing. Illinois just absolutely took advantage of IU, and it was bad from the beginning. And when you start talking about the performance on the court looks like it's poorly coached, what's happening off the court looks like it's being poorly coached. At some point, that poor coach has to be held accountable, and that's why I think Mike Woodson has to go as the Indiana coach. There's just not much choice. And I'm not saying he's a bad man or a bad person, and maybe in the right role, he's an effective coach, but that's probably in the NBA and probably as an assistant and probably not running a multi-million-dollar entity, which is Indiana basketball. And so, can they turn it around? Sure, they could turn it around. Why? Because they're extremely talented. They're much more talented than a 1-5 record against quad one teams. But when you don't even compete, I mean, Iowa went on the road and got beat at USC, a very mid-level Big Ten team. Iowa lost by 10 the following game and gave up 99 points to USC. Indiana scored 60 against them. And then you come back home and you take on a team that you know is one of the better teams so far in the Big Ten, and you're not ready to play or give the effort you need to give to try to compete with a team like that. Embarrassing. And I don't blame fans for booing. The chance, I get it. You're frustrated fans, and you've been through a number of coaches that you probably feel have let you down. But in hindsight, I think a coach or two along the way might have been better than the one you've got now. And I don't feel like the fans ever have really embraced Mike Woodson as the coach. He was a surprise pick. He was picked for that job because of Quinn Buckner and his relationship with Quinn Buckner and Quinn Buckner's role in the Board of Trustees. That's why Mike Woodson's the coach at Indiana, and I think the fans have had enough. It's time for the athletic director to choose a coach to become his boss, because right now I don't know if Mike Woodson is even held accountable by Scott Dolson, because I don't know if Scott Dolson has that authority or power over Mike Woodson, because I'm not really sure that's chain of command. I think Mike Woodson might be reporting to Quinn Buckner, and they're buddies. So the whole thing is a mess right now at Indiana.
Yeah, for me, Mike Woodson has always kind of felt like somewhat of a celebrity hire, a name hire. I think Indiana, if they want to move forward and get back to that blue blood, you need to find somebody that fits that mold a lot better. And, of course, Mike Woodson can also talk about, it's still possible to turn this season around. But looking at their schedule, they have 13 games remaining. 6 of those teams that are in the Big Ten are currently ranked in the top 25.
And would be quad one games.
Exactly, which we have seen they have not been able to win so far.
And but even some of the mid-majors they've played,
it's been close.
They've kind of coasted to wins.
Yeah.
They've never really been driven to give top performances.
No, and that's what you want to see when you're playing these mid-majors, is you still want to see all the effort as if you were playing a Power 5 team.
What did Purdue do last year? They beat mid-majors by 40 every time they played.
Yeah.
Because they came out, played to their standard, and that was how they were held accountable. They were supposed to play to their potential regardless of the competition. So they got into a habit of playing high-level basketball no matter who it was against. So when they played high-level competition, they were prepared to play their best. Indiana looks like they want to flip a light switch and they can't find the light switch. They're caught in the dark and they don't know where the switch is. And it's not that's not the way you can play a college basketball season. And I just feel like all of the demands of a college basketball coach and hearing stories about, recruiting trips where Woodson blows it off because he has an opportunity to go fishing or, and you hear these rumors. And I don't know what's true, what's not, but I've heard some of the rumors out of Bloomington. And when you look at what you can dissect as fact, which is how the team performs on the court and around the court, it isn't working. It just isn't working.
No, I just went and did the research. Purdue's smallest margin of victory over a mid-major last season was 27.
Yeah, they blew the doors off pretty much everybody.
They sure did.
I don't know if Indiana's beaten one by 27.
I'll look. I'll do the stats.
Most of them are like 16, 18. Because I'm trying to think of who all they played and if there was anybody they really just blew away.
They did blow out Eastern Illinois 90-55.
Oh, okay.
So 35 there.
I don't want to say much about Eastern Illinois, but if the bus just made it to the gymnasium, you're probably going to win by 45 points.
But yeah, you're looking at
35 or whatever that is.
An 11-point win over UNC Greensboro, 69-58. They scored the same amount of points as they did against Illinois.
260-447-8500, the Parkview Sports Medicine text line. We would love to get your thoughts on this. 260-447-8500. Go ahead, let us know. All right, so last night, did you happen to catch Sports Center and see what happened with Ja?
I did see that, man.
Oh, man. How tall is he officially? 6'1"?
6'1", 6'2".
Okay, so
6'2".
So he gets the ball driving down the court, down the left side of the court, and they blow the whistle as he comes off a screen, but he keeps going. And you know who goes to meet him at the rim? And he also kind of keeps going. Victor Wembanyama, 6'1" versus 7'3". Ja goes up, goes over, and throws it down on Wembanyama. The poster of the year, perhaps, in the NBA. Man,
it was impressive. It's a shame it didn't count. All the Wemby defenders were saying that he kind of stopped halfway up.
Yeah, sure he did.
Heard the whistle. Didn't give full effort on the block, but it's kind of weird, too. I mean, to continue that dunk after the whistle. I mean, if you have the forward momentum, though, why as well go for it?
He went ahead, and Wemby came up.
He did. He jumped.
Almost as if he was going to deny it. Like he wasn't going to let him continue the play and dunk on him.
You see that a lot. Sometimes after a whistle, you'll see a guy take a shot, and someone will come up and swat it.
And
you don't want it.
I think Wemby was trying to resist. Not necessarily going up trying to stuff it, but I think he was trying to resist Ja being able to throw it down, and Ja went right up over him and just threw it down. And when you say throw it down, or I say throw it down, he threw it down.
Yeah, it looked like Dwight Howard doing the Superman dunk, the way he threw it in the rim like that.
Oh, yeah. He wound it up and threw it down at the rim. That was kind of fun to watch last night.
Yeah, very impressive. Although I will say the Grizzlies got the win. Zach Edey had some quality minutes, but he also did get blocked by Wembanyama a couple times. I'll tell you, Victor Wembanyama, 8 blocks in the first half of the game.
So tonight, Pacers trying to stay hot. Of course, they split the games with the Cavaliers, but there's no shame in that. They split the game with the 2 games with the Boston Celtics when they had the chance to take Boston earlier this month. Now they've got the Pistons, which is an interesting team because if Pacers don't show up, Detroit's good enough to beat you now.
Absolutely.
Used to be, you could probably play poorly and still leave with a win against the Pistons. Not now.
No.
They're playing respectable basketball, and they're fighting for a playoff spot of their own.
The Pistons and the Pacers are only half a game apart in the standings, with a tiebreaker currently sitting at 1-1.
Wow. And so that game comes up tonight. It's an important game, and we've got the coverage for you. It's going to be right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Pacers, Pistons, 7 o'clock tip, and the pregame show at 6:30. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Got to talk a little national championship game and more. That comes up before Eric Dutkiewicz, about 7 minutes down the road. This is the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Kate.
Mama, what does the chicken say?
Chicken. Oh, okay.
And wolf?
Oh, a wolf.
Ooh! What about the tiny dog? Cat. Owl. Ooh. Dolphin? What does the turkey say? Whale.
Whale sound.
Do the giraffe.
Giraffe, really? Okay. Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/
the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This portion of the Sports Rush is presented by Christopher James Menswear, where style and service are always in fashion. In Covington Plaza on West Jefferson, 1 block west of Getz.
This is Mike Nutter, team president of the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, and you're listening to the Sports Rush with Brett Rump on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Solid win for the Purdue Boilermakers last night. Almost forget about Purdue because they played so late out in Washington, but they didn't have a great first half, but they regroup at halftime and they dominate the second half, outscoring Washington 47-28 in the second half of the basketball game last night, and Purdue goes on to a 69-58 win over the Huskies. And solid game from Caleb First.
Yeah, he's been actually a very great contributor. He's been starting, and he's been great for the Boilermakers.
Listen to these numbers.
Yeah.
4 for 4 from the field, 7 of 9 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, and 4 steals for Caleb First last night.
That's fantastic. You know, there were some questions at the start of the season about how much of a role First would have now with Zach Edey departing for the NBA. And slowly but surely, he's integrated himself into this Purdue offense and defense throughout this season, and major contributor now. So good stuff.
He was the top scorer from Fort Wayne for the Boilermakers last night.
What did he beat Lawyer by 1 point?
No, by 3.
Oh, okay.
Lawyer had 12 on 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 4 behind the arc, and Lawyer had 5 rebounds.
All right.
But First, with his 15 points, became the top scorer out of Fort Wayne for the Boilermakers last night. So now the big one for the Boilermakers comes up Saturday.
Who do they got?
Oregon.
Oh, the Ducks.
They're going to Duckland.
Quack, quack.
And they'll take on Oregon Saturday afternoon.
Now, you said they get to stay out there on the West Coast and take on both of those teams, Washington and Oregon.
Well, that's what the Big Ten's done. They've paired up Washington, Oregon, so almost everybody that goes out there will play both of them on the same trip. They've also paired up USC and UCLA, so almost everybody that goes out there plays both of them on the same trip, like Michigan did a couple of weeks ago, and now Purdue's going out taking on Washington, Oregon.
Well, UCLA and USC, they're in L.A.
Yeah, we learned that. If there was any confusion, we learned about that.
Oh, I still love that.
Football Media Day, that they're both in Los Angeles for those here in the Midwest that might be
I need that as a
geographically challenged. Oh, boy. All right, what else is going on? Oh, the Mastodons get selected for the ESPNU National Television Broadcast.
Yes, sir.
Found that out earlier today, and congratulations to Jalen Jackson.
Yeah.
He is the Lou Henson Mid-Major Player of the Year honoree.
Yep, at midseason. Yep, he's the midseason honoree.
And what an honor.
Yeah.
When you look at all the players in mid-major basketball. But, so it is Support the Fort night, January 30th. That is when we need you at the Coliseum to show off Fort Wayne's support for college basketball. Doesn't even matter what your team is. Come on out and enjoy live basketball. Instead of, watching the Hoosiers and yelling at your TV or,
and being
or
frustrated.
Trying to stay up till midnight to watch the Boilermakers on the West Coast. Come on out January 30th to the Coliseum. Be part of a national audience.
Yeah, it's like you said, we don't care if you're a Notre Dame fan. We don't care if you're a Purdue fan, an IU fan, a Butler fan. We don't care if you're a Guangdong Tigers fan. We want to see you here supporting your hometown team.
Yep, and so to support the fort with the Mastodons taking on league leader Cleveland State. Now, that's as of now. We don't know in a week and a half or 2 weeks. Guess it's 2 weeks from tonight. We don't know exactly how the standings will set up. But right now, those two teams, Cleveland State, Purdue-Fort Wayne, are 1-2 in the league standings, and only a half a game separates them. The Mastodons are a half game back with a 7-2 record. Cleveland State still 7-1 in league play so far. So huge game, great team. Should be a fun environment with national TV exposure. Support the fort. Get your tickets at the Coliseum or wherever you purchase your Coliseum tickets. But it's a great deal.
Great deal. We want to see you out there. Good news for Pacers fans. Rick Carlisle just announced Tyrese Halliburton and Aaron Naismith are available tonight.
Naismith is back.
Naismith is back.
Wow. All right, so Pacers, Pistons tonight, 7 o'clock tip right here at 1380 The Fan on 100.9 FM. Coming up next, we've got the Dootster, Eric Dutkiewicz. He'll join us next from Parkview Sports Medicine right here at 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. We all get a bye this weekend because it's bye time for the Mastodons in the Horizon League schedule. So a little bit of a break. They won last night at Wright State in 2 overtimes, 120 to 113. That's even a high-scoring game for overtimes.
Yeah, good time to have a bye weekend because that was a lot of basketball.
That was an up-and-down, highly skilled game. But the Dons won't play again until next Wednesday when they take on NCAA tournament participant Oakland from a year ago. And no Jack Golke. He's gone.
Yeah, he's with the G League with the Milwaukee Herd.
But the team that Greg Campy's assembled this year is a very good defensive team. And so it'll be a challenge at the Arena next Wednesday night. Of course, we've got your coverage here at 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Well, we'll be out at New Haven tomorrow night. It's the Leo Lions, New Haven Bulldogs. That is our featured Parkview Sports Medicine High School basketball game of the week. And then afterwards, join us at the New Haven Pizza Hut for the Parkview Sports Medicine postgame show. We'll be there till about 10:30. And, of course, it's Adam, Doot, and me with all of your coverage of Friday night high school basketball. And speaking of Doot, he's joining us right now here on the Sports Rush. And, Doot, how was your week? You know, things kind of got derailed last Friday night. So we were planning on seeing you and then didn't.
Yeah, I mean that snow came in last week, and you know the games went on, most of the games, and then it just by the second half of a lot of those games, you know, it just became so treacherous that we just elected not to do that. But you know, looking a little bit better this week with the weather, and looking forward to being out at New Haven. Get some NE8 action this week with the Bulldogs and the Lions in a big purple versus purple matchup. So it should be a fun one out there. Looking forward to it. And a lot of exciting basketball coming up tomorrow night and throughout the weekend.
Yeah, we're in the stretch run for girls basketball. They're down to the last couple of weeks of the season, but the boys still have almost a month left. But let's find out where things stand. Let's go ahead and get Doot's Power 5, the top 5 performers on boys and girls basketball as of right now. It's a snapshot. It is not a season-long analysis. So let's go ahead, Dude. Let's find out on the girls' side who you've got as your top 5. And, of course, we always start bottom first, so let's go number 5.
Number 5, we introduced for the first time ever the Whitco Lady Wildcats. So kind of an interesting pick, not a team we hear a lot about just outside of Fort Wayne and Allen County over in South Whitley there, but that Whitco team, really strong showing, 11-3, and off to a really strong season again. They got the 2 big wins over the 2 other teams in the TRC that are kind of leading the way in Wabash and Rochester to seize control. A team that won the conference a year ago, looking to take that next step. 22-4 in the last calendar year in Whitco, just outside there. So a great season for them. They continue to look for that next conference title.
Number 4.
Number 4, the Eastside Lady Blazers. You know, took a tough one to Belmont a couple, weeks ago, but it's been 4 straight wins since that loss. They're 9-0 at home, or 9-0 on the road, 9-1 at home. They're sitting at 18-1. Mike Lordy, 99 wins, so tomorrow could be a big night for them.
Ooh.
They beat Fairfield to seize first place in the conference, along with Central Noble, and they'll be playing in the semifinals tomorrow. So Eastside continues to keep things rolling with some trophies and other hardware in mind, and this is a really strong team sitting at number 6 in Class 2A.
Number 3.
Number 3, Belmont. They've moved up to top 5 in the Class 3A poll. Now, for them, it's been an interesting, couple of days. They did lose to Northrop earlier this week at Northrop, but last Friday night, that huge win over Columbia City really gave them an added boost in this week's poll. They also have wins over Eastside and Bluffton in this month. And they got a big one versus Norwell tomorrow. So, it's a lot of big basketball for them. 20-4 in the last 365 days for this team. And they're in first place. Ashley Blakey, freshman, 23 points over Columbia City. That's a big output for her.
Yeah, I was talking to Coach Jackson about that game last night. Said it was like a 15-second stretch, and the game flipped, and they took control of it and never gave it back. She said it was a really exciting win for her program, getting that Northrop win over Belmont. All right, we're at number 2, Doot.
Number 2, the Bluffton Lady Tigers. This team rebounding also from a loss to Belmont to claim. Now they won the other night over Jay County to clinch their first ever ACAC regular season championship on January 10th. They have one more game to go in the conference in the regular season. They're at the ACAC tourney this week. Got to be the favorite in that. They've never won that either, so this could be a incredible couple of days here for Bluffton. But just Isabella Stout has looked good for them all season long, and really strong. Big win over Woodland last night as well. So Bluffton keeps things rolling at 15-2, number 8 in Class 2A.
Give it to us. The top spot is number 1 on this week's Girls Power Poll.
Yeah, it's been brewing since yesterday or earlier in the week. The number 1 team, the Northrop Lady Bruins.
Oh!
It's been a big couple of weeks for them. I mean, they are really looking good. They've got 3 straight victories, and really, for them, 8 straight wins at home and 12-5 overall. They've really found their rhythm. We talked about the big win over Belmont at home that snapped the Belmont's 9-game streak. And 100 career wins now for Katie Jackson. Congratulations to her. I think that's probably second all-time behind Dave Riley, who had like 380 or something like that. So congrats to her. Swin dropped 25, her daughter, over Belmont. So big game. Kayla Williams-Thomas looked big all year as well. So Northrop hitting their stride. 5-1 in SAC. They're still in contention because they haven't played Homestead yet. It could get interesting here the last couple weeks.
No time to waste. We got to get right to the boys' side and find out who starts our power poll this week at number 5.
Number 5, we find the Cherubusco Eagles. Now, again, this is not a power poll, certainly not the best team in our area or the top 5, but 3 straight wins after a 1-7 start. Just a really good week for them. The conference tournament has been able to help them. They got a low-scoring team, 42 points per game, but 3 guys, and Braden Bayenski, Weston Ott, Braylon McCoy leading the way. Congrats to them. They're 3 straight wins by 13 points as well. So starting to find some momentum.
Number 4.
Number 4, Jay County. Really, the summary out of this is not just 3 straight wins and convincing, but 600 career wins for their head coach, Jerry Baumholz. 110 of those at Jay County. They handed Adams Central a big regular season loss as well, so not lost in the shuffle there. They're sitting at 6-4, trying to find some momentum as they play throughout the season.
What do we have at number 3?
Number 3, Bishop Luers. They squeaked by New Haven, but a 1-point game. one point last week. They also beat Canterbury very convincingly. Draylen Truesdale with a big showing as well. 11-1 is Lawrence. They've been there all year long. Big games later for them. They keep rolling. You'll find them week in and week out.
We've made it up to the top spot, so now it is time. Wait, are we at number 1?
Number 2.
Oh yeah, I see. I get so excited when we get to the top. All right, let's go ahead and find out who's number 2 real quick.
Number 2, the Wayne Generals. You know, they've won 6 of their last 7. The only loss in that Fisher's Holiday Tournament. They dominated Northside in a 20-point win over a red-hot Norwell team as well last week. Chase Barnes is the straw that stirs the drink, if you will. But really, H.J. Dillard, Kalen Williams-Thomas, all great contributors, and they're 9-3, a force to be reckoned with. Quietly in the SAC, they're up at the top as well.
All right, I think if I've done my math correctly, dude, it is time. Let's find out. Number 1 on the boys' side this week.
Number 1, the Homestead Spartans. I think it really starts with last Friday in that PSM game of the week. They really upend and turn it on in the second half, 50-37 over Southside. And then on top of it, to come back Tuesday, I think it was the 14th, and smoke Blackhawk Christian 67-38. They've got a 4-game win streak, which includes a 40-point win over Leo. And really, in 2025, they're outscoring. They're averaging 65 points a game and really done a lot. They're at Snyder tomorrow, Columbia City on Tuesday. But for now, they're the number 1 team of the week with the strong showing that we've seen in the last 7 days.
Sounds awesome, dude. Have a terrific Thursday night. Look forward to you jumping on and joining us for our high school basketball coverage coming up tomorrow.
We'll see you out in New Haven.
Yep, that is Eric Dutkiewicz from Parkview Sports Medicine, home of the Edge program. And Eric Dutkiewicz will be joining us at the New Haven Pizza Hut tomorrow night for our Parkview Sports Medicine postgame show after we have Leo and New Haven boys basketball as our PSM high school basketball game of the week. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap it up for a Thursday edition next on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Welcome back a final time to the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix, 4 to 6. Brett Rump with Adam Lindy, and of course, you're always connected on the Parkview Sports Medicine text line at 260-447-8500. If you miss any of the show, it's always easy to keep up. You just got to go to a podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, and you search for The Sports Rush with Brett Rump. We're on all of the big platforms, whether it's Apple or Spotify or any of the others. Easy to find us. Then make sure you subscribe, you like, you rate, you review, you do all the stuff you're supposed to do to keep up with the Sports Rush every single day. So if you don't catch it live, you can always catch it on the archive, our show podcast every day, usually within 30 minutes after the end of the show. Big Thursday show. We're ready for a big Friday coming up tomorrow. We'll cover some college football, some NFL football, and some basketball coming up tomorrow. Big thanks to our guests on the show today, including Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball coach John Kaufman. Also from Parkview Sports Medicine, Eric Dutkiewicz. Pacers basketball against the Pistons comes your way tonight. That does it for the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.